So we are back with episode 2. So learn, understand and master biology with Vicmax Masterclass. So let's take this question. The question number 1 says, the balance equation for aerobic respiration is A. So as you can see here, we have glucose plus 6 moles of oxygen, which give us 6 moles of carbon dioxide plus 6 moles of water plus energy, that is ATP. Now this is glucose, water, oxygen. The product formed is carbon dioxide, water and energy. Then B, 6 moles of carbon dioxide plus 6 moles of water, giving us glucose plus 6 moles of oxygen. Then C, 6 is H12O6, that is glucose, 2 moles of carbon dioxide plus energy. Then we also have 2 moles of water, giving us 2 moles of hydrogen plus 1 mole of oxygen. So the correct option is A, because the question says the balance equation for aerobic respiration is, the answer is A, because A is the balance equation for aerobic respiration. Then B is the balance equation for, this is for photosynthesis, this here is for photosynthesis. Then C is for anaerobic respiration. It is not aerobic respiration, it is for anaerobic respiration. Then D is electrolysis of water. D is electrolysis of water. So the answer is A. The answer is A. So the second question says, the primary purpose of respiration is to A. Produce oxygen, B. Release energy from food, C. Manufacture glucose, D. Produce chlorophyll. So produce oxygen is not the answer, release energy from food is the answer, manufacture glucose is not the answer, produce chlorophyll is not the answer. Produce chlorophyll is during photosynthesis. Then produce oxygen. Oxygen is used to break down glucose during this process. So respiration is the biochemical activities of the cell in which glucose is breaking down by a series of reactions controlled by enzymes to release energy. So this is the answer. The answer is B. Then the third question, the organelle where aerobic respiration mainly occurs is the organelle where aerobic respiration mainly occurs is the A. Nucleus, B. Ribosome, C. Mitochondrion, D. Chloroplast. Nucleus is the cell that controls all cell activities, so nucleus is not the answer. The ribosome is responsible for protein synthesis, is not the answer too. The mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell, and it is in this mitochondrion that the aerobic respiration mainly occurs. It is the organelle where aerobic respiration mainly occurs. Then chloroplast is the site for photosynthesis, is not the answer. So the correct answer is mitochondrion, which is C. Mitochondrion. Then the fourth question, the gas required for aerobic respiration is A. Carbon dioxide, B. Nitrogen, C. Oxygen, D. Hydrogen. The gas required for aerobic respiration is oxygen, because oxygen is required to break down glucose, specifically for aerobic respiration. But in anaerobic respiration, oxygen is not needed. It does not require oxygen to break down glucose. Then the answer here is oxygen. Then carbon dioxide is the product of the reaction, while oxygen is the reactant. So the answer is oxygen, which is C. Then the fifth question, one product of aerobic respiration is A. Glucose, B. Carbon dioxide, C. Chlorophyll, D. Starch. Glucose is not a product of aerobic respiration. Glucose is a reactant. It's a reactant of aerobic respiration. Glucose and oxygen are the reactant. Then carbon dioxide is the product. Carbon dioxide, water and the energy is the product of aerobic respiration. Then chlorophyll is not the product. Chlorophyll is not the starch, is the storage of carbohydrates. It is not the product. So the answer is carbon dioxide, which is B. Then the sixth question, anaerobic respiration in yeast produces A. Water and oxygen, B. Ethanol and carbon dioxide, C. Glucose and oxygen, D. Carbon dioxide only. So during anaerobic respiration in yeast, it produces only ethanol and carbon dioxide, not water and oxygen. It produces only ethanol and carbon dioxide. So the answer is B. So before we continue, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and also comment. So the seventh question, which process releases more energy? A. Anaerobic respiration, B. Aerobic respiration, C. Fermentation, D. Diffusion. Which process releases more energy? The process that releases more energy is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration releases more energy because glucose is broken down by oxygen, which thereby produces more ATP, which is more energy. Then anaerobic respiration produces less energy. The energy produced by aerobic respiration is always higher than the energy produced by anaerobic respiration, because glucose is broken down by oxygen in aerobic respiration. Then the answer is aerobic respiration, which is B. Then next question, The simple sugar used in respiration is A. Sucrose, B. Lactose, C. Glucose, D. Maltose. So what is the answer? The answer is glucose. Why is sucrose not the answer? Because sucrose is not a simple sugar. It must be breaking down or it must be converted to simple sugar before it takes part in respiration. Lactose is also not a simple sugar. Maltose is not a simple sugar. Glucose is a simple sugar. Glucose is the only simple sugar here. Another example of simple sugar is fructose, galactose, and so on. So the answer is C. Then the next question: which of the following is not a product of aerobic respiration? A. Water, B. ATP, C. Carbon dioxide, D. Oxygen. Which of the following is not a product of aerobic respiration? Water is a product of aerobic respiration. ATP is a product of aerobic respiration. Carbon dioxide is a product of aerobic respiration, while oxygen is a reactant of aerobic respiration. Oxygen is not a product of aerobic respiration. So the answer is D. So let's continue. The last question for this episode: respiration takes place in living cells in order to A. Produce food, B. Release energy for metabolic activities, C. Increase body size, D. Absorb sunlight. A. Produce food, B. Release energy for metabolic activities, C. Increase body size, D. Absorb sunlight. Respiration takes place in living cells in order to. So what is the answer? Comment your answer in the comment section. Let's know who will get it right. So don't forget to subscribe before leaving this video. Subscribe, comment, share, and like. Thank you.